All right, does that mean I get more time? I'll start.
Welcome, everyone. My name is David Fisher. I'm the Hood County Republican Chair. Thank you all for coming to this forum. This is number 2 out of, I think, 12 forums we're going to have on 6 nights. Please be sure and come to the other forums as well. There's going to be one on Thursday at City Hall, and on the 11th, and then on the 20th of February. The first thing I want to say is thank you, candidates, for coming. I guess I'll introduce everybody. This is Chris Perricone, over on the right. Dr. Glenn Rogers, Kelly Sorrell, and John Francis. These are our candidates. Also want to thank the Hood County Conservative Club and the Republican Women and the Republican Club for co-sponsoring this event. Thank you very much for all your hard work. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to have a 3-minute intro. Then we'll have 1-minute questions, and everybody will answer the same questions. And then we'll have questions from the audience, and we'll have a 3-minute close. If you have a question in the audience that you'd like to ask, what we're going to ask you to do is, there's some people in the back. I see Barbara back there. I see Barbara and Sandra. I don't know where Sharon is. But please, what we're going to do is ask you to write the questions. We've got cards back there. Write the questions on them, and then we'll ask them at the end. We're going to start with opening statements. And from the right, Mr. Perricone.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you all so much for coming out. And is there a way that I can have a heads up on the time?
I'm sorry, I didn't say that. Sandy right here, who is our representative from Trump, is going to be giving you a warning, flash warning when it's time. When you get close.
Start all over.
So sorry. Thank you. I did get some extra time. Thank you. My name is Christopher Perricone, and you can look more information up on me at ChristopherForTexas.com. That's ChristopherForTexas.com. 2 things I want to talk about and hopefully get it impactful in this last 2 or 3 minutes I have. Y'all are here to make a decision. Y'all are looking amongst 4 candidates to cast your vote. We each need those votes. I believe that I need them more than anyone because I will work harder for you. But I want you to think of 2 things when you're going to cast your vote. Number 1, just as the Word of God says, and we're in a church, so this is very appropriate, that we don't look and determine what type of tree it is based on the leaves. We look at the fruit of that tree. And a lot of times as you're listening to us, you're going to hear of the tree leaves of people, things that they say they want to do. With me as a candidate, you're going to be able to look and inspect the fruit of what I've actually done as mayor of Benton Wells, Texas. And the number 2 thing I want you to think about is this, and it was Albert Einstein that said the greatest invention that ever has happened in all of mankind was compound interest. He also said this is the most powerful tool known to man. And compound interest is simply putting money onto a bank and gaining interest, and then you're actually gaining interest on that interest, and it compounds. So I want you to think of your vote in that same vein. When you vote and elect one of us 4 to go down to Austin, you want to look at that person who's going to be influential enough to influence the other Republicans, or God willing, a Democrat, to come over to our side of the platform. What that will do for you as a voter is it exponentially increases your vote. And I'm telling you right now, I believe that I'm the most influential person that can go down there and influence the people down in Austin, because I am tired of what has happened for over a decade. We have a conservative platform as Republicans, and in a decade we have the House, Senate, and gubernatorial. And what bills are we passing right now that fit in line with constitutional carry, abortion, or any of those getting passed? The answer is no. Why? Because the people we're electing to go down there are being influenced by Austin, or they're being influenced by lobbies, or they're being influenced by something else. Y'all want someone that is strong, that will represent you? I have the fruit that shows that I will stand firm on everything that I believe and say, and I will be someone that can articulate an argument that will influence other people to come over to our side so that we can get legislation that will help Texas. My name is Christopher Perricone. Look forward to chatting with y'all tonight, and I'd love to have you vote at ChristopherForTexas.com. That's ChristopherForTexas.com. Thank you.
Good evening. I appreciate the chance to visit with you. The future of our country in Texas depends on conservative rural values. and I believe in the traditional conservative values of limited government, both federal and state, and local control. To keep rural Texas and rural America strong, we must focus on public education, health care, and economic development. I'm Dr. Glenn Rogers, and I want to be your next state representative. My core beliefs, career path, and broad leadership experience uniquely qualify me to serve this district. I'm staunchly pro-life and very strong on the Second Amendment. I'm against all illegal immigration. I've been an active member of the traditional Methodist Church for over 50 years, and I'm immersed in God's grace. I'm a veterinarian and rancher in Palo Pinto County, where my family's been ranching since the 1980s. I've been the principal operator of that ranch for over 40 years. My wife Mandy's also a veterinarian. I have 4 living children, 5 grandchildren. My oldest daughter Meg is an MD. My number 2 daughter Jenny is an attorney. My only son Ben is a senior at Texas A&M, and my daughter Leah is a sophomore in high school. And just one note, I didn't have any gray hair until Leah was born. She's giving me all that. But a little bit about my educational background. I have a Bachelor of Science and a Doctor of Veterinary Medicine from Texas A&M and a postgraduate degree from Kansas State. I served the public in private rural veterinary practice for 11 years. I was a university educator for 9 years and 12 years as an animal health professional. And I've been ranching, as I mentioned, since 1980. Each of these careers have helped mold me into a candidate who can very effectively represent this rural district. My time as a rural veterinarian taught me how to run a small business and how to serve people literally 24/7. My time in university taught me to be an educator and a researcher. My time in the animal health business taught me to be more comfortable in big city environments and communicate the needs of Texas to the urban world. My 40 years in ranching taught me resilience. In all of that, I served in leadership positions on a local, state, and national basis, most recently as president of the American Association of Bovine Practitioners. That's a fancy name for cow doctors, and that's in U.S., Canada, and several other countries. This experience, along with several trips to Washington, D.C., is what's instilled a passion in me to represent this district. If you look at a map showing the areas of greatest support for the Republican Party and President Trump, it's in rural America. And the future of the Republican Party, the ability to elect strong leaders like Donald Trump, and the future of our great state and nation depend on thriving rural communities. When elected, my top priority will always be to vote for the underrepresented needs of rural Texas. Thank you.
Just good. You went up there. Okay. Hi, I'm Kelly Sorrell. I'm running also for these gentlemen up here. I am your Granbury candidate. I am an attorney at the Hyde Law Firm here in town. My practice areas are primarily family with some elderly law. I do some guardianships and things like that. My kids attend school here. I have 4. Maddie and Bella are twins. They're 16. Operating a motor vehicle, so watch out. I apologize in advance. I do have full coverage insurance and, high limits. I have a son, Thomas. He is 14. He's at Acton. And my youngest is 13, Lexi, and she's also at Acton. I am a former prosecutor. I moved up here in 2017 from the border region. Most people know it by South Padre Island. It's Cameron County. My experience down there was primarily working with children or criminal cases associated in the investigative phase, as well as child protective services and adult protective services. I also did the guardianships down there at the border. I am very experienced with the legal issues that we have in the state, including where I see that we've kind of lost our way when it comes to protecting our basic fundamental constitutional rights. I'm from West Texas and the Panhandle. My paternal grandparents were cotton farmers. My mom, my grandmother, my maternal side, public servants and educators. I have a father-in-law who is a retired law enforcement peace officer, and my husband is ex-military. He was in the Air Force. My brother also served a tour in Iraq and Afghanistan, or 2 tours. My husband is also an attorney here in town. I'm pretty sure most of you know him. Jeremy Sorrell. He's Payne. He's a good guy. Takes care of the city a lot. But I basically just bring to the table a lot of experience when it comes to law. And the laws that we need, the protections we need, are actually reducing some of the laws we need. I really believe that it's my job, or a legislator's job, to listen, advocate, represent the people's interest, if you're practicing law or if you're writing it. I mean, that's the primary job, and I would appreciate your vote and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is John Francis, and there's a few things that you need to know about me that are very important. The first is that I'm a man of faith, I'm a conservative, and I'm a Republican, and it's in that exact order. And I think that's very important for you to understand about me. I am not a politician. This is the first time that I've ever run for office. I'm a businessman. My wife, beautiful wife there in the middle, we've been married for 27 years. We have 4 children. We've made our home in Cisco, Texas, right here in the district. We've been here for more than 20 years. That's where we've raised our children. We've educated our children. We worship together in the district. I didn't have to move into this district to run for this office. I didn't have to change parties to run for this office. I've been a conservative Republican my entire life, and I'm very proud of that. You know, it's only been maybe 5 weeks since I made the decision to run for this office. And the reason that I did is that it was actually only after our current representative, Mike Lang, made the decision to not run that I decided to start giving it some very serious thought and prayer. And we went, our family did a lot of prayer, a lot more thought, a lot more prayer. This is a big decision. But you know, one reason that we like this district so much, and that we call it home, is that it is one of the very most conservative districts in the state of Texas. I'm very proud of that. And I want to make sure that our district has an actual solid conservative that's willing to go and fight for our values. And that is the reason that I decided to make this run, because I want to make sure that our values are worth fighting for. And I've been involved behind the scenes for about a decade in the political scene. I've never been on the front line, but I decided to make this decision again because I think it's so critical for our state. You know that I'm running for one position out of 150. There's 150 representatives in Texas, but I truly believe that one man can make a huge difference, and I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for your support. You know, there's one thing that's important too. I get asked, what are your priorities? And to be frank with you, I think that's kind of a weird question. And the reason I think it's weird is because you, the primary voters, have already told us what the priority should be, right? But the reality is that, the constitutional carry, the pro-life, making sure that our Second Amendment rights are upheld, oftentimes in the last session, these things, they get ignored. And I think it's wrong. I think it's despicable. And I just want you to know that if you entrust me to be your representative, I will fight for you. I'm beholden to no one. And by the way, the Austin lobby has made their choice in who they want to be their candidate, and it ain't me. I want to make that very clear. So again, I would like to ask for your support. I'll be here to answer questions. I put my cell number on every single piece of campaign literature that I have. And the reason I did that is for 2 reasons. One, I want to make sure that each and every one of you have the opportunity to ask any question that you'd like. But two, I would like you to know that I'm expecting you to hold me accountable. So that's the reason that I put my cell number on all my campaign literature. And thank you.
All right, we're going to go to 1-minute questions. Each of you has, I'm going to ask the same question. Each of you, please answer it. Can you pass the mic down one and we'll just keep rotating down? So each of you has a chance to go first. First question. Why do you want to serve as our House representative, and what are your qualifications and your goals?
The reason I want to serve as your state representative is because I believe that you deserve someone that has an understanding of this mostly rural district and will stand up for limited government and local control. And I thought about this a whole lot, prayed about it, talked to my family, and we really feel like this is something that I need to do, and it's something that I feel like I'm very qualified to do, even though one of the other candidates said he's not a politician. I'm definitely not a politician, but I have had a lot of leadership positions in the past, and I feel confident that I can lead this district effectively.
As far as qualifications are concerned, the time on the border introduced me to a lot of issues that we have. Some are just basic border issues with drugs and trafficking and things like that. But other things that I realized is that we have kind of merged in a lot of ways our executive branch and our legislative branch. Our judicial branch. I would like to see some defined lines. I would like to see, I just think the government, the bigger it gets and the more it blends itself and the more they all work together as a team, it is setting itself up to become an us versus them. And the problem with that is that each one of us individually loses if we don't have that protection. And I just would like to work to redefine things, minimize some of the agencies that are continuing to grow. They're bureaucrats, they have no responsibility or accountability to us, and I'm passing the mic.
So I want to make it very clear. I'm for less government and more freedom, and I will fight for you unapologetically doing so. I will tell the truth, I will listen to you, and even if it means that I'm the only person standing up, I will do so alone. And I believe that one person, one man can make a big difference, and that is the reason that I'm running.
Christopher Perricone, ChristopherForTexas.com. The reason I'm running is to move the needle further to the right. I'm sick and tired of Republicans going down there when we have the House and the Senate gubernatorial and we cannot get things done. I have a record that shows you how one person as mayor in the city of Middle Wells, when I'm losing every vote 6-1, can absolutely make a difference in all of our lives. I'm wanting to run so that I can stand up and put a face to Republican ideals and values to go and say, hey, listen, property taxes, everybody talks about going reforming, let's work on a creative way to eliminate them. Let's talk about abortion. Why are we not getting it eliminated? I proposed in the city municipalities to eliminate abortion, to get it out. There is ways to do this. We can do this. And I believe that I'm the right person for it. You want to ask about background? I have all the way up to a master's degree. I served 2 tours in special ops military from the Air Force. And I have a track record as mayor showing that as an atypical politician, just like Donald Trump, I can absolutely get something done and it will be effective for Texans. Thank you.
Next question. Kelly, you want to go?
Yep.
How do you plan to know your district, to hear the concerns of your constituents, and educate them on your positions on all issues?
Okay, so for Hood County specifically, since I'm here, my office is down the street, and when everybody got their tax bill with their tax shock last year, our office hosted a meeting where people could come and go over, kind of get some points on how to work to protest your taxes, how to, just some tips, I guess. And then I also had my office door open for anybody who needed it. Not to get into it with the hospital, but, you know, we had some billing issues that were going on. I worked with people, I made contacts within the hospital. I worked to create a line for people to be able to go to a specific person and negotiate their bill. And I worked to try to reduce the court judgments, basically, for people to be able to resolve their issues without the court process.
The short answer to that question I've already answered, and that is that I read the Republican Party of Texas platform. There are 339 planks. I agree with them. That is what you have already told everyone on this stage that is important to you. It's important to me. Your priorities, I'm planning on taking to Austin if you elect me, and I will make it my priority. It is my priority. The other way that I'm going to find out what the district wants, in the short time that I've been running, which it's only been a little over a month now, I've knocked on over 900 individual doors personally, and I ask everyone at the door, what are your most important, what issues are important to you? And the answers that I get are pretty interesting, and it's informative. But the short answer, again, is just simply, my priorities are the Republican Party of Texas platform. Thank you.
The 5 priorities that the Republican platform has. Number 1, I am going to first focus on the taxpayer-funded lobbies. Number 2, constitutional carry. Should have been done a long time ago. Why are we not the first state that had constitutional carry? It blows my mind every time I think about it. Number 3, property taxes. And not just reform, I want to see creative solutions to eliminate them. Abortion, Roe v. Wade should have been done away with a long time ago. It's against our state statutory laws. And the 5th one, holding the line on our faith and morality. Those are the top 5 priorities that the Republican platform has. How will I interact and get understanding from the district? I heard a great idea from Casey Gray, who's running for Congressional District 11, about every single county sending someone over there to work with him in DC. In a similar vein, I want to use technology to interact with each of the counties through the Republican chairs and through who y'all would nominate to come and talk to me. I want y'all as a county resident in my ear, not some lobby. So those are the 5 things. This is what I would do. Look forward to having your vote. Thank you.
Unlike my opponent who decided to get in at the last minute and get a whole lot more money than I could get from my family in a short period of time, $600,000, 95% of that coming from the family, I had to earn it the old-fashioned way. And I've been out there working for the last 6 months, going to city and county governments throughout the district. I've been in every county many times, many of the communities. And the just so you know, I guess he's referring to me being the one that the Austin Lobby supports. I guess by Austin Lobby you mean the Farm Bureau. How many of you in this room are members of Farm Bureau? The big bad Farm Bureau lobby, okay? That represents farmers and ranchers in Texas. I'm proud that they support me, and I'm proud to be supported by Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers and other organizations. Thank you.
Let's shake things up just a little bit. By show of hands, which of you supports the red flag laws? Good answer. Which of you support abortion on demand? And which of you support constitutional carry? Very good.
Can I say something?
Sure. Would you like to expound on that?
Sure. I support constitutional carry with one exception. And I've polled every sheriff in the district, and I talked to a man named Jack Wilson. I don't know if Jack's here tonight. You don't know Jack Wilson? Jack Wilson. Had a conversation with Jack Wilson, and I believe Jack Wilson. I trust Jack Wilson. He says that he thinks there needs to be training and I believe we need to have training required. Other than that, I support constitutional carry. Thank you.
Once again, I support the Republican Party platform, and one of the very top priorities is constitutional carry. And quite frankly, the week before Jack, and by the way, sir, I so appreciate you, but Jack and I met the very week before he took out the shooter and discussed this very issue. And he and I had a very good discussion about the fact that we're both on the security teams at our church. I'm on the security team at my church, and I'm so grateful that you, sir, were on the security team at your church. But, but just quickly, constitutional carry is something that, I don't know if you're familiar with this or aware of this, but if you walk north of the Red River, you can go all the way to Canada with a firearm on your side and do it legally. Not in the state of Texas. And I think that that's wrong, and I think we need to take the lead in protecting our Second Amendment rights. Thank you.
Second Amendment. These shall not be infringed upon, right? Back to my main point. For 10 years, over a decade, you have Republicans that have sat in forums and said they are for constitutional carry, and what do we get? Really? We have the House and Senate gubernatorial, and we still don't have constitutional carry as Texans. I don't understand that. Why? Who is talking in the ears of some of these Republicans when they're going down there and turning their backs on what they're going to say with their lips here? The Word of God says a man is justified by his works, not by faith alone. And so I'm telling you that if y'all send me down there, I'm telling you I'm for constitutional carry. I'm against the red flag laws. I'm going to show you all how effective one person can be in getting something done. Thank you. I love to have your vote.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and knock out constitutional carry, I guess. When I was back to the border. Mexico, the people, they do not have readily available firearms. They do have a way to get a license for it, but it is very, very difficult and it costs a lot. If anything on this planet tells you how important your gun rights are, it's that country right there. Our neighbor to the south, they are completely and totally, and I'm going to tear up, tormented and tortured by their own people. And it is so important that we keep our guns. And it's so, we all should have them. We should all be able to access them and protect our family and our loved ones. Sorry.
I think it's time for John to start.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Do you support taxpayer-funded lobbyists? Why or why not?
I keep coming back to this, but one of the top priorities in the Republican Party platform is the elimination, 100% elimination of taxpayer-funded lobbying. And unsurprisingly, I'm in favor of it completely eliminating taxpayer-funded lobbying. And the reason I am is very simple. It's absolutely unfair. So you have lobby groups that come in, they're using your taxpayer dollars, they're using your money, and they're doing it on issues that are completely opposed to the things that are in your best interest. It's akin to theft. They're using your money to work against you, and it's just that simple. So I'm absolutely in favor of eliminating taxpayer funded lobbying, period.
100%, absolutely. TML, I'll go ahead and name it. As mayor, Texas Municipal League, and the attorneys that are advising the people you elect at the local municipalities are trampling your rights. I have a current lawsuit against the city of Minnewelis in the federal courts right now for them trampling over my rights as mayor, my fundamental rights, my constitutional rights. If they're willing to do that to an elected official on the local level, imagine what they will do to the citizens. So yes, I am completely against eliminating that, whether it's TML, whether it's the education sites. I'll even deal with some of the Chamber of Commerce, which I consider the TML And Chamber of Commerce is honestly the two worst cancers I see at the local municipality level, and they are detrimental to what is going on. I'm telling you, as a mayor of this town, there is ways to deal with that. So I'm absolutely against it, and I can show y'all solutions that will effectively eliminate it, because they are taking our money to lobby against our own rights. Thank you.
Thank you. I want you to know that I am against the ban on taxpayer-funded lobbying. You heard that right, okay? Let me tell you why. Because I support rural Texas, number one. I'll give you 4 reasons. This proposal seems to be an attempt to silence local elected official or silence community participation. I don't think that's conservatism. When done properly, this arrangement uses taxpayer money to better represent the constituency. If that does not happen, then vote the elected officials out of office. It's real simple. It's local control. To use a military term, for those of you from the military, it's a force multiplier of ground troops. Rural districts and rural issues are already underrepresented in Austin. Redistricting will likely make that worse. We need these people. I know that the taxpayer-funded lobbyist terminology has gotten really negative. But an argument can be made that this ban will actually increase government, because then we'll have to hire additional people and have additional resources put to doing what these contracted individuals could do. Thank you.
Okay, so this one's a little bit complicated for me because I was previously a government employee. And as a prosecutor, we had resources that was probably one of these groups that they are discussing. I will tell you that they were great resources for prosecutors. They were great at giving us answers to protecting defendants or parents that we were working with. I get it. I understand that we don't want to use our taxpayer money against us, but I also have concerns that if there is a ban, then we leave lobbying generally, you know, big business, big money, in play. And I believe in local control. It is really difficult for any of us to pick up a phone and call Austin. And, you know, at least if you have local control, you can effectuate the things that are in your neighborhoods the best you can. And I'm done.
Chris, your turn.
All right.
Okay, I was like,
I just thought of something too. I'm just saying.
What are your priorities? What is the single most important responsibility of your new position?
I think obviously starting with the question we just asked, taxpayer-funded lobbying, if you eliminate that, those other 4 items that we just mentioned will follow suit, because y'all's voices will be heard instead of them being actively lobbied against. So I think dealing with the taxpayer-funded lobbying is the most critical one. As an elected official, yes, TML has options, but I could always call my state rep, at least one on the lane. Y'all's rep that was representing y'all, I could get him on the phone and say, hey, I need help. He's the only one that stood up for me. In fact, he stood up for me and was helping out his district, his constituent, and then because of it, you have individuals that end up coming and running that are funded by, like the Chamber of Commerce and others that are here. So that's the number one first thing we've got to do. We've got to eliminate the taxpayer-funded lobbies. After we get done doing that, then we can deal with the things that should have been done a long time ago. The constitutional carry, the property tax, the abortion, holding the line on our faith and morality. Those are the platforms that are already annotated and lined out in the Republican platform. And with me, you will get exactly what I say that I'm going to do. I will go down and fight for you. My name is Christopher Perricone. Thank you.
Questions, what was the first thing we would do, right?
What are your priorities? What is the single most important responsibility of your position?
Okay. Well, there's several things I would want to do immediately when elected. One of them is an education-related deal, and that's the STAR test. And there's a lot of things we need to take care of in education, but the STAR test is causing tremendous problems. It's causing demoralization in schools. Teachers don't like it. They're having to teach to the test. It's causing test anxiety in 3rd graders. It's really promoting mediocrity. So I would try to focus on absolutely banning the STAR test, or at least reducing it greatly. that would be one thing. There's several others, but I think I've run out of time. So I can talk to you about that later. I have other things.
Okay, so we all are pro-life, and one of the things that I think is something that is not discussed or is legislation that is desperately needed. As a prosecutor, we would have parents that were routinely, or moms, pregnant women that were routinely in the system, and people that we dealt with, we got familiar with them. There were several times that I tried to seek a court order to try to have her put in a facility while she was pregnant because she continued to use cocaine. I would like to see some legislation enacted to protect the unborn. You know, I mean, not only do we want to preserve life, but we also want to make sure that children or infants and children have the best equipment that they can. And I mean, there's just habitual drug use, and I think it needs to be addressed, especially in women that are pregnant.
My priority is the Republican Party platform of Texas. And one of the most important, actually it's on the very top of all my campaign literature. It is my top issue, it is the most important issue, and that is to defend the unborn. Full stop. I'm pro-life from conception to natural death, but I believe that we need to go more. We need to promote a culture of life in Texas. And we need to improve the situation that we have with the adoption services that are provided, making it easier to have an adoption. And I think to me, this is the most important issue that we have, full stop.
What is your opinion on homeschool? Vouchers, homeschoolers participating in extracurricular activities, and specifically homeschoolers pay taxes too.
First of all, I favor school choice. I think there's a place for public education, private education, and homeschooling. For the most part, the vast majority of students, public education is what's going to be selected the most, and that's what I really want to focus on, is trying to improve public education. But I have good friends that have homeschooled their children and have done a great job, and I have no problem with any of those. I'm opposed to vouchers because it takes money out of public schools, and the public schools do not have a lot of money to give away. One thing, once you take money out of public education, I think that's a negative for homeschools and private schools, because then you have to have the regulation that goes along with the money that you accept. So you have to have transparency, you have to have the same accountability and all those things. And so I think it's a two-edged sword. And so I do oppose vouchers, but I do promote school choice.
I promote anything that gives parents a choice to decide how they're going to raise their children. With that being said, I have concerns with fraud. Our system is wrought with entitlement fraud. I don't really approve of handing out vouchers, just for the sheer fact that I fear that a certain group might use those without educating their kids, and then we're just going to create a problem. Plus, with vouchers, I think there's an issue with being able to divide the amounts of money. Like if a kid's in the school district but then moves halfway through the year, I don't really know. I mean, and then ends up in a private school and wants to use, I don't know. It's too complicated. Charter schools, I've seen them rise, I've seen them fall. If we could, have some transparency and financial accountability, I don't think that's a bad thing. But I do believe in strong public schools.
I mentioned earlier that my wife and I have 4 children, and at various times in our children's lives, they've needed different educational choices, and I very much appreciated the fact that my wife and I had the ability to make the choice that was right for our children. My daughter is a senior at Cisco High School right now, and I'm very proud of the public schools that we have in this community. I think it is important. You know, the vast majority of the students that are in our district are schooled in public school. It's super important. However, we've also homeschooled our children at various times, and I've very much appreciated the fact that we have the ability to do so. I believe that the reality is that school choice, the vouchers are not going to come up in the foreseeable future in the next session, but I think it's something that we should take a look at.
Appreciate this question. One endorsement I was really wanting to have was the Texas Homeschool Coalition. I wasn't able to get that endorsement. John has it. I'm the poster child for homeschools. I was homeschooled by my father since about 5th grade, and I homeschooled 4 of my own. The reality is, standing here, and I have a master's degree in Christian education, the reality is right now in this country, in our state, homeschoolers, when they're being sought out by higher education, they're sought out because there is a well-rounded individual that's being taught values that goes beyond just the testing of what the books can teach us. So I am absolutely for homeschoolers, and I would advocate, just as I have as mayor, going down to Austin, and I actually spoke at a hearing for the Tim Tebow bill to give us access, because we pay taxes too. I am for school choice. I think local control. The decisions need to go to the parents so they can make the decision on where their kids are going to be educated, whether it's in the public sector, private sector, parochial school, charter, however it's going to be a homeschool. But I'm absolutely for that, and I think that we've got to get the federal government out of our public school systems. I think I'm up next.
Do the other candidates support or oppose the Tebow?
Yeah, do y'all support? I support it. I was down there testifying for it.
That was a part of the question nobody answered. I support it.
Yeah, I guess we could just.
Okay. You all have already answered this question. I'm going to ask it, let you answer it again if you like. Will you support the Republican Party of Texas priorities, and pick one and tell us about it? Do I need to listen?
Okay, absolutely, yes. I will support all of them. I told you my most important one, I think, on the impactful level is to deal with the taxpayer-funded lobbies. What is dear to my heart, and you can see this as I was mayor, I put on to end abortion in the city of Mineral Wells. You want to talk about, let me bring up a statistic. We're the most conservative, one of the most conservative districts in the state, District 60. Mineral Wells, according to statistics, is the 29th most conservative city in the state of Texas. And yet when I put on the agenda just to have a conversation about abortion, just to have a conversation about it, I can't even get a conversation in the 29th most conservative city in the state of Texas. I want that to sink in, because if there are men and women that are not willing to stand up on whatever it is that we have on our platform, in this case abortion, then we're wasting our time and our votes, and I'm wasting my effort. If I go down to Austin, they'll send me there, I will show you all how effectively someone can stand up for our rights of the unborn and the 14th Amendment rights. But that's another thing I would say is I'll let it go.
We got a questionnaire from the Republican Party on the 5 key things, and it's just a yes or no question, just like the one on constitutional carry. I support constitutional carry, but there wasn't any way for me to say I want training. So I don't know how you answer that when they try to make you a puppet. Okay, I'm not a puppet for anybody, whether it's where my funding's coming from or the Republican Party. I'm very much a Republican, but I also have a brain, and I'm not going to agree 100% on everything that's said. So constitutional carry, yes, I believe it would train. I told you how I felt about taxpayer-funded lobbying. I'm a Republican, but I'm going to support what's best for rural Texas. Thank you.
As far as the 5, I guess the key ones that they put out, that he is correct, Dr. Roberts is correct. They did put out like a 5 number of things that we determined whether or not. I think the only one that I have questions on would be the taxpayer-funded lobbying. And that's just from the sheer fact that I've worked with some of those organizations and I just don't know. I'd like more information So I agree with that, in that I would like to think these things through before I just jump to a conclusion or automatically click yes, because, you know, sometimes there's more to the equation than just what, you know, it depends on people's experience. And as far as right to life, I absolutely would love to see a full ban on abortion in Texas.
I'm for the abolition of abortion. And I believe that we should repeal Roe v. Wade. I will say this, just generally speaking, since the constitutional carry question came up again, I believe that citizens should have the ability to not only keep and bear arms, but actually use the arms and be able to carry them. I trust citizens. I don't trust government. I don't think that we should allow the government in to make a determination of whether or not you ought to be able to carry a firearm. I believe, just like Jack said in his meeting a few weeks ago, we do have the right to keep and bear arms, but we have a responsibility to train. And I believe that responsibility lies on me as an individual. And so I completely agree with, once again, the Republican Party of Texas platform that includes constitutional carry, and I am proud of that.
You want to borrow this one?
No,
I can see it.
not working. Do we have some, I think we have time for about 2 questions from the audience. You guys ask?
Have you read the 2018 Texas Republican platform, and do you substantially agree with the planks?
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yes, this is the same format. His turn is to go.
I guess it's me. Okay. That's why I was like, I just didn't know where we were starting.
1 minute, go ahead.
Yes, I have had an opportunity to review the planks. There are some of them that are interesting, but by and large, there weren't anything that were super crazy or outlandish. As far as, and actually now, the decriminalization or making the civil penalty is kind of being added in for as far as marijuana is concerned. And I do want to address that because it is kind of hanging out there. My thought is that we need to empty our jails, focus on the things that really matter, get the big dealers off the street. Majority of our jails are full of people that are low possession quantities of marijuana. This is just one of those things where I think the people have spoken, they continue to use, and as long as they're maybe a civil penalty, I like just bringing it down to a Class C, but you've got larger counties that are not prosecuting anymore, and then you have the smaller counties that are, and it's just really conflicting, and I just, yeah.
The answer is yes, yes, and yes. I've read it. I agree with all 339 planks. And to be perfectly honest with you, I would be so much more proud of the Republican Party and the elected officials that we currently have if they actually followed the planks of the Republican Party as well.
Absolutely. I have read all of them. I did not read them until, gosh, it's probably been 2 months ago, 3 months almost. But absolutely, I agree with them. It still goes back to the same question that I posed at the very beginning. If we're just looking at the tree leaves about what people are saying they're going to do, we're going to miss the point. We've got to inspect people's fruit, and y'all have to make a decision on the people that are up here on what they've done. Will they actually produce good fruit and go down there? Y'all have had a great rep for the past several years in Mike Lane. I think he's exemplified holding a conservative line and holding the Republican platform. I want y'all to send me down there so I can do the same and show a much strong stronger fight in influencing other elected officials to come over and start standing up and doing what they said they would do in the first place.
I think the exact question is, do I substantially agree with the Texas Republican Party platform? Was that, you used the word substantially in the word? And the answer would certainly be yes. I've already pointed out some of the problems that I have with taxpayer-funded lobbying, and then the constitutional carry, just making sure that someone in New York City that's hadn't grown up like we grow up and hasn't been around guns, if they have some kind of training. I've already pointed that out, and I stick to that. But I have read the Republican Party platform, I've studied it, and I agree with especially the pro-life stances that are in there wholeheartedly. But as I mentioned before, this is an underrepresented, or rural Texas is underrepresented. We have more representatives in Harris County than we do west of I-35, and my first priority is to represent the citizens of rural Texas, regardless of what the party platform says.
Okay, this is for all candidates. Discuss your position on illegal aliens, what we need to do to limit the continuing tide crossing the border.
We need to build the wall.
Build the wall.
We also need to end the draw. Okay, so in other words, I believe it's immoral for an illegal alien to be in this country and receiving taxpayer subsidies, for example, in-state tuition. I believe that's immoral. The reason I believe it's immoral is that you have students that might be from Oklahoma or Michigan or some other state that have to pay out-of-state tuition, but yet you have an illegal immigrant that comes in and they get in-state tuition, and I think it's immoral. So I believe that President Trump is exactly right. We need to build the wall. It needs to be completely secure, and it needs to have a big gate that's only used if you're allowing legal immigration. No one is against legal immigration. I'm certainly not against legal immigration. I'm for legal immigration, but I think we need to stem the tide, and we need to stop the subsidies that are being given to these people, and I think that will slow the tide.
This, I think, is important to understand the appropriate role where we stand as statesmen going down the state side. Federal government, we've got to elect a good, strong conservative that will go and build a wall at the federal level. They get the wall built. State legislators, our job right here is to stop all those magnets, as they're called in Republican. I tend to view it as like a drifting of a scent. You see someone smell something, like they smell someone's cooking some barbecue, they try and come over the wall to get it. In this area, I believe that state legislators, us, we have got to deal with all of those programs, entitlements that are drawing them over into our country illegally, whether it's the education, whether it's housing. There's numerous ones out there. And we can deal with that just by writing legislation. So I'm absolutely for getting the federal government to build a wall. I'll be the squeaky wheel that's calling down to DC and saying, hey, get going. And once that's done, we'll deal with all the magnets or that scent that's drifting across the border that is attracting over here to get that dealt with. And it'll be a huge, tremendous bump for our economic development as well.
I'm a huge fan of President Trump, and I support the wall, building the wall. Even though it's a federal issue, they have failed. And in Texas, we've had to spend $3 billion and send 250 DPS officers to the border. I would support continuing that. But we're only having to do that because the feds are not getting it done. We need to support President Trump in every way we can and get the wall built. I agree with that 100%.
Okay, just briefly, I do support the wall, but more importantly, I support holding Austin accountable. entitlements, well, okay, we'll start with congressional candidates. Whoever you guys elect for that or we vote for, the 1965 Immigration Act, anchor babies, biggest problem we've got. Down there, if you are undocumented, you are not allowed to apply for housing, welfare benefits, those things. However, once you have that baby, you've now got housing, you've got electric, water, Medicaid, I mean, you name it, those funds start rolling. We added those up when I was down at the DA's office, and you guys should be very angry and frustrated when I tell you the number of what these households were bringing in based off children alone in those households. Our state is horrible at going down there and actually taking care of the issue. We had a group that was supposed to come out of the OAG's office that had the DA's office prosecute the cases for them. They were supposed to investigate them, they gave up, and they walked away. And so we did nothing down there, although we tried.
Okay.
Oh, wrong way.
Sorry. Would you declare District 11 a sanctuary district for the unborn, and how would you enforce it?
Yes, House District 60, yes. Absolutely, I think that would be in a very effective way to go. I'm going to try and go through this really quick, so I would love y'all to ask me about this dream I had. When I proposed to have the sanctuary city for the unborn in the city of Mineral Wells, what I pictured in my mind, I'm going to run through this really quick, is a mountain with a bunch of water coming down, and at the base of that mountain there were a multitude of little people. And that water was going to completely wipe them out. And in short notice, I saw a big sandbag that was placed at the base of the mountain, and it had Boston. Boston was the first city to do the sanctuary city here in the state of Texas. And I saw a second bag being filled up, did not know how full it was going to be, had MW for Mineral Wells. What God, I believe, spoke with me is, when enough cities will combine together, just as we've done with the Second Amendment on the county side, we'll do the same thing with the unborn. Those line of sandbags will turn into a wall that will allow effectively allow a state legislator to walk across down to Austin to advocate and get rid of Roe v. Wade completely. So, absolutely, I'd be for it.
I would support anything that would stop abortion and stop the death of these unborn children. So yes, my answer would be that. In terms of, if you want to look at sanctuary cities or sanctuary districts or whatever, that's sanctuary cities, that's up to the municipalities to vote on that. That's a local issue. But I would, if it's in my purview from the state level, I would support anything that would actually prevent abortion. So if making a sanctuary city declaration or sanctuary district declaration would do that, I would support it.
I have no issue with having District 60 being a sanctuary district. And I absolutely have no issue with telling the federal government to pound sand. I'm really tired of our federal mandates. I'm really tired of being dictated to. I'm tired of our taxpayer dollars that we have to pay in income tax going back to Washington, and then they dangle it like a little carrot, like, here, you want some money, we'll give it to you only if you do this. So I read a survey at one point that had asked whether or not you were willing to push back against the feds, and the answer is absolutely yes. I'd like to see what they do. Come and take it.
We have a Republican governor, we have a Republican Senate, and we have a Republican House of Representatives. I'm frankly embarrassed that abortion is legal in the entire state, let alone HB 60.
You still talking about that? I do want to give one clarification though. As mayor, there is a tremendous difference between a resolution and an ordinance. And if we were to do something like that, we need to do something that has teeth and have an ordinance with it. And I think that's important. We won't take too much time.
What is your position on term limitations in all of government?
I'm actually for them. In fact, I even propose having term limits even on the local level at the municipalities, and yet, once again, 29th most conservative town, they're not even willing to have the discussion. So if you elect me, and send me down to Austin, I will bring those discussions up and I will articulate why we need to have those term limits. So I'm absolutely in favor of them.
I would support term limits as well. I don't know what the years that needs to be in place, whether it's 12 years or what, but I would support term limits. One thing, when I go to Austin, you can be assured I won't be there 40 years from now, based upon my age.
I'm just gonna ditto the rest of the folks. I agree, I don't really know what that magic number is, but I don't really like that the draw is to get retirement, right? So start adding up so that there's more taxpayer money going to politicians or government. But that's pretty much it. I support them. Don't know where. On that one thing.
I support term limits. I also support doing away with pension plans for elected officials. I believe that we should have elected officials that are going for the purpose of representing you, representing the citizens. Then they should go back to their jobs and continue on with the job that they had previously. I don't think that our founding fathers intended for there to be politicians that have a lifetime appointment. I think it's absolutely one of the biggest problems that we have. So I'm in favor of term limits. Who gets it next? Sorry.
I was going to ask you.
Go for it.
Actually, we have so many fantastic questions. Thank you all so much. We really need to draw this to a close. So what we'd like to do is give each of you 2 minutes to make whatever closing you wish. Would you like to start?
Sure. So again, my name is John Francis, and I want to thank you each for coming out tonight. This is an important function of government, and I really appreciate you coming out. You know, I'm trying to make the case. I want you to understand who I am. I wrote all my campaign literature. What you see is what you get. I'm certainly not a perfect individual. There's no doubt about that. You can ask my wife, she can tell you for sure. But I do have strong convictions, and I want you to understand that I am exactly what I have presented to you tonight. And I have an intense appreciation for my family. You know, that it's been brought up in the past a little while ago about, you know, some comments about, oh, the big money or whatever, and I want to address that directly. You know, there are forces in this country, and frankly internationally, that are relentless, pushing towards the left. Relentless. And there are many billionaires, countless billionaires, millionaires. There are industries that are solely devoted to destroying the culture that we have as Americans and as Texans. And I am so very grateful to be part of a family that is absolutely willing and anxious to push back against the left. So if that's the charge, keep the charges coming, because that's exactly right. I am so very proud of my family. I've been involved behind the scenes up until this point. I was the director of the foundation. It's a charitable organization, and that's how I got involved politically. But again, our passions are pro-life and pro-freedom and less government and pro-Judeo-Christian values. So I'm very proud of the work that our family has done. I'm very proud of the work that I've done personally. And I decided to pursue going to the front line in that fight. And frankly, if you allow me to do that, I will go and I will fight for you. I will fight for your values. And so I'm asking you to give me the opportunity to earn your vote. One more time, I have put my cell number on all my campaign literature because, quite frankly, I'm proud of the positions that I hold. I want people to be able to ask me questions. But most importantly, I want you to know with an absolute certainty that I'm expecting you to hold me accountable. So I would like to ask for your support, and again, for an opportunity for me to earn your trust and for your support. Thank you so much.
My name is Christopher Paracone, and you do know exactly what you get when you vote for me. I have a track record, whether it's term limits, put it on the agenda, whether it's abortion, whether it's Second Amendment rights, whether it's getting rid of taxpayer lobbying. I'm currently suing the current city because of constitutional violations. The sacrifice that my families have made to stand up for the constituents that have elected me is vast. And my reputation is not done in a vacuum, it's not done behind the scenes. Just as I served on the front lines, 2 tours, special ops in the military, I've done the same thing in the political realm, serving as mayor of Grand Wells, Texas. And it is a battleground, and I believe that if we send people down to Austin or send them to DC that have weak knees or that have ears that are bent towards other lobbies, then we're going to lose our republic, we're going to lose our state. And so if you want to make sure that your vote counts, then vote for Christopher Paracone. Send me down to Austin. And number 2 thing I want to remind you, if you send me down there, I'm not only just going to hold the line with the votes on conservatism and Republican values, I will be an influencer that will influence those other people that are down there in Austin, the other Republicans that are not holding the line, that aren't holding up the standards, and I will effectively exponentially increase your vote. So vote Christopher Paracone. If you'd like to get involved, ChristopherParaconeforTexas.com. I need donations. I really would love to have someone set up and say, hey, come talk to me at the house. If you get a few people together, I will show up. If you need signs, I have my cell phone that's on my business cards that will be in the back. But everything can be done through that website, Christopher for Texas. Please give your vote, and I would love to have the ability to go down and fight for you. I was joking around as I was thinking about this. My last name is Italian. I was like, I'm kind of like the Rocky Balboa of politics. I've been in this fight for the last 2 years, and it has been a battle. And I'm telling you that I will stand strong, and I will not give up on y'all. If y'all will give me the opportunity, you can look at my track record. And it was proven to you that, just as my card says, I am proven under pressure. And I would love to have your vote. Actually, I need your vote. Christopher Paracone, thank you.
In closing, I'd like to thank all of you that attended this forum and those of you that are here to support the political process, really for the greatest nation on God's earth, the great state of Texas. I'm a proud Texan. My great-great-grandfather fought in the Battle of San Jacinto. His name's inscribed on the San Jacinto Memorial. I'm proud of my Texas heritage and the opportunity to serve you in this district. I'm a strong supporter of President Trump, and I appreciate his love for his country, his strong work ethic, and all he's accomplished, despite intense opposition from the left. One of the ways that I can help this country and help President Trump is by addressing the needs of his rural base, just like the folks here in Hood County. It's very obvious when you look at the U.S. map of Republican support and Trump support, there's a tremendous urban-rural divide. Currently, there are only about 19 rural state representatives west of I-35. And redistricting, as I mentioned earlier, could reduce this even more. The future of Texas and the future of America depends on a strong rural America and a vibrant, growing group of rural communities. Liberals would like nothing better than to stack us all up in the cities so they can control us. I realize Granbury and Hood County are becoming much more suburban, but I imagine most of you live here because you don't want to live in the Metroplex. You appreciate the rural values that we have in Granbury. My promise to you is that my first priority will be to support rural Texas, rural communities, rural citizens. And if I feel that legislation will harm any of our rural communities, not just Granbury, but Breckenridge, Brownwood, Mineral Wells, regardless of the source of the legislation, I will vote against it. I will be a conservative rural representative first, and then a Republican. My hope is that you will truly take the time to analyze the candidates in this race. Make informed decisions. Look at our track records. I welcome you to look at my record. I welcome you to look at what I've done. Running for office is difficult, not only for the candidates, but for the families. And tonight I'd like to ask you to pray for me, for my family, but not just me. I'd like for you to pray for each of these candidates running up here and their families. This is hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. it's also been one of the most enjoyable things I've done because of the people that I've met traveling throughout this district. And many of you are here in this room. May God bless you, may God bless Texas, and may God bless America. Thank you.
Just in closing and briefly, we've talked about Republican planks and, things that people want to see happen, additional laws that need to be passed. But one of the things that I know from my career and I'm very passionate about protecting people's individual rights. I know that our government has gotten out of control. I know that constitutional rights are trampled on every day. And that's not to say that I disrespect law enforcement in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I appreciate the hard work that they do. But I would like to see some of that reined in, some extra protections put in place, as far as for example, Child Protective Services. I recently had a call. By the time the child got home, she had already been interviewed. There had already been access to all of her medical records. There had already been interviews with counselors and anybody else that would have had anything to do with this kid, and the mom didn't even know. And guys, this should be appalling. I mean, this should absolutely scare you. For those of us that have kids in the system today, it is petrifying. And I know that when I was down on the border, I advocated for parents as a prosecutor to hold the line and make sure that we were protecting each other. I don't see that anymore. And I just want to make sure that that's a priority, not only passing legislation to continue to add to the books, but also taking away and trying to minimize the influence in our homes. Thank you. Oh, I'm Kelly Sorrell.
Thank you all for coming. Didn't these guys do a great job? I'd like to ask you, please come to our forms, and please, before you leave tonight, try to shake each one of these candidates' hands. Thank you.